Here are 10 movable blues chords you must know. Now, while there may be other chords out there, if you get these down, you'll be able to play a ton of blues songs, and you'll be able to hang at most blues jams. So let's check these out. Our root 6 7th chord is really important. A lot of blues tunes start with this, so let's look at it. We're going to bar all the way across the 3rd fret with our first finger. Then my second finger is going to drop down here on the 3rd string on the 4th fret, and my third finger over here on the 5th string on the 5th fret. So I have to bar all the way across with this finger, make sure I have a good tight bar there so you really grip between these, your first finger and your thumb, and I'm going to strum all strings. Sounds like the blues already, right? So with this chord, the root note is on the 6th string. So whatever this note is, that's what this chord is. It's a 7th chord, so if I play it here because that note is G, that's a G7. So if I move it here, it's A7. If I move it here, it's B7, right? So you hear that ability to move that around to different keys will allow you to shift gears and play blues in different keys. A very common chord to start off the blues with is our root 6, root note on the 6th string, dominant 7th chord. Another cool voicing for a 7th chord based on the 6th string goes like this. First finger barred all the way across, second finger drop down there, third finger there, but I want to add my pinky out here. So it's a little bit of a stretch all the way up there. In this case, if my first finger is on the 3rd fret, second on the 4th, third on the 5th, my pinky is going to be up on the 6th fret on the 2nd string. But if I play all those strings, it gives me that sound, which is a really nice sounding voicing. Our other dominant 7th chord, based off the 6th string, is done with the pinky off. So it's the same chord, but adding that really gives it a nice, just a nice sound, a nice flavor to it. And this, once again, is a root 6 chord, so it's based off of this string. In this case, it's G, so this would be a G7. Knowing this root 5 9th chord is essential to playing the blues. So let's check it out. My second finger is actually my root note, so wherever I play that will be the name of the chord. I'm going to play that on the 3rd fret on the 5th string, and my first finger will go right behind it on the 4th string on the 2nd fret. And then my third finger, I want to bar across the 3rd string, the 2nd, and the 1st, just like that. So I kind of got to smash that finger down. Sometimes it's easier to actually start with that, hold that down across there, and then drop my first finger on the 4th string and my 2nd over there. I don't want to play the 6th string on this one, but I play that and we get that sound. Now with this particular chord, once again, because that string is my root, that's a C, so that would make this a C9. So if I move it up here, it's a D9 or an E9. Wherever I move it, it's going to change the name of the note that it's on because I move it, but the chord shape itself doesn't have to change. Very important chord when you're playing a blues. You'll see this root 5 7th chord in a lot of different blues tunes. It actually looks a lot like our open position C chord, but we're moving it up. So let's do it starting on the 3rd fret with my first finger on the 2nd string. And then I'm going to reach across and play my second finger over here on the 4th string and my third finger over here on the 5th fret on the 5th string. So what I want to do is drop my pinky down here to the 3rd string. Now I'm not going to play the 6th string or the 1st string here. So if you strum just the middle ones, you get that. If you have trouble not, getting down and playing that string, what you can do is sort of lean that first finger over to where you mute that 1st string. And you get that sound because my root note here is on the 5th string, right? So that's this note. This note is the root note. So because it's there, it's a D7, E7. So practice just moving that up and down until you can get over there and get it. But once again, it's just like if I played an open C chord and then I drop that down, that's my C7. So we're really just moving that chord up to get this really important blues chord. The 13th chord has a really cool sound to it. So if we base it off of the 6th string, it's going to go like this. First finger on the 6th string, 3rd fret. This will give us a G13. And then my second finger is going to go on the 4th string right here. My 3rd finger out here on the 3rd string, and then my pinky is going to drop down here. So unlike a lot of chords that go this direction, this one's going the other direction. So pinky is going to be out there on the 2nd string. So with this one, I want to not play my 5th string, so I want to lean my first finger sort of over on that string and kill that 5th string. And then I don't want to play the 1st string. So 1st string has my pinky sort of leaning on that. One of the cool things about a lot of these movable chords is, you have to learn about muting and what finger works best to mute, which string where. And it's not always the same for every chord. So each chord has its own little unique attributes as far as where to mute what string. But in this case, our 13th chord is going to sound like that. And because it's movable, and it changes because that's my root note, G, A13. Wherever I move it, that's what it'll be. Here's a really cool 9th chord. I'll show you a couple of different ways to do. So we're going to start with my first finger on the 5th string, and then we're going to go with my second finger on the 3rd string. So I've skipped a string. Well, then my 3rd finger goes back, grabs that note on the 4th string, and then the pinky goes to the 2nd string. So it's these two and these two, sort of together. They give me that. Now, if I flatten my pinky down over the 1st string, so the pinky is really playing the 2nd and the 1st, I'm going to get this sound. And in this case, the root note is actually this note, the pinky note up there, right? Which is G. But a really cool way to play this chord is to not play that note. So we don't have a root note in there. So in order to know where you're at, you just have to think, if I play it up here, because that note would be B, that makes this a B note, even though there's no B in that chord. So basically this is a 9th no root chord. Why this is cool is if I play it down here and I just strum the middle 4 strings, what it does is it allows the bass player or someone else to play the low G note here, but it keeps me from doing that on the guitar and keeps it a little less muddy. It sounds pretty cool when you do it this way. So practice this chord, move it around, and just remember, if I needed a root note, it's either this note or this note that's going to call this chord a G9. Let's check out a root 5 dominant 7 bar chord. So my first finger is going to bar at any fret, but let's go ahead and do it at the 3rd fret. And I bar across the top 5 strings. And my 3rd finger plays the 4th string up here on the 5th fret. And then my pinky is going to play the 2nd string up there. So I've skipped that string in the middle. So you have to make sure we really push down hard here and get that bar to hold that 3rd string. So we get that note. When I play this, I don't want to strum the 6th string, so I'm just strumming the top 5 strings. Root note is here, so I can move it all over the place, and that gives me a nice dominant 7 sound. Our root 5 minor 7 movable chord is pretty cool. Same bar all the way across the top 5 strings, and then I'm going to drop my 2nd finger down on the 2nd string on the 4th fret, and then I'm going to drop my 3rd finger down on the 5th fret over here on the 4th string. So I'm still skipping that one in the middle, but instead of like our dominant 7, which is here, I've taken the pinky off and replaced it with my 2nd finger. So it's a really easy transition, and that gives me a minor 7. All right? So that's C minor 7 because that note is C. If I move it to here, it's D minor 7 because that note is D. All right? So I can move it all over the place. It gives me a really nice minor 7 sound that is movable. The root 6 minor 7 may be one of the easiest bar chords we can play. If we want to play a G minor 7, I'd start on the 3rd fret and bar all the way across all 6 strings with my 1st finger. My 3rd finger, then I put out here on the 5th string on the 5th fret. And that's all there is to it. Strum all 6 strings, and that would be a G minor 7 because that note is G. I can move that exact same shape up to here, and it's an A minor 7. because my root note moves. Wherever I put that note, that names the chord. Now, the only thing tricky about this chord is making sure you have all of those other notes held down with your first finger. That seems easy, but sometimes it's harder to get those all to ring out. So you just have to do a little experimenting and maybe roll that finger over a little bit this way, maybe move it further up, move it further down, whatever it takes to get in the right spot where you don't have like strings, like going through in the crack of your finger or something. You want to keep the strings all ringing out as you play through this chord. And if you can get them to all ring out, it's an awesome sounding minor 7th chord. Having a movable minor 9th chord is really important when you're playing the minor blues. So how I would play one, you start with your 2nd finger on the 5th string on the 5th fret. Then your 1st finger goes to the 4th string down on the 3rd fret. Then your 3rd finger is going to want to bar across the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings up here again on the 5th fret. Now, just like we've talked about before, sometimes it's easier to start with that 3rd finger and lay that down, then drop your 1st one down and your 2nd. In this case, this is a root 5 chord, so that's our root note. So we don't want to play our 6th string, but if we strum the top 5, we're going to get this really nice minor 9th sound. And we can move that around to different places on the neck to get an E minor 9, D minor 9, C minor 9. Wherever I put my root note, that's going to change the name of the chord. But it's a great chord to have for a minor blues.